Hey guys, what's going on? Legion Noodle here playing more RuneScape Dragonwilds. Welcome to our Daily Gaming XP Grind episode 73. So right now we're out here just collecting cooking resources. And interestingly enough, I believe it was last episode we talked a little bit about the new cooking update, which I thought was already in effect, but after reading the article a little bit more, it seems that that is not quite in the game yet. Which makes a lot of sense because when we were cooking, we noticed that everything still pretty much required the same amount of resources. So I think this is important because obviously it's a little bit misleading because I believe the article started with cooking is here or something like that. So it's a little bit confusing because it sort of gives the indication that it's already been implemented into the game. But then once you actually read the article, it sort of says it's coming soon. So misleading for sure. But obviously we're not really that worried about it as we're going to have to collect a lot more cooking resources. So we just know now potentially to save our cooking resources and potentially focus on working on potentially rune crafting or something like that in the meantime. But really not having a date for when that's going to happen. I don't want to completely abandon cooking. I think that's going to be a little bit ridiculous because obviously we're already pretty limited on what we can currently work on in the game. So I don't want to put ourselves in a situation where we really don't have anything to work on because we sort of waiting for an update. I don't think that's really smart. So I don't want to go that route. So obviously I want to be conscious about it, but at the same time I still need to get XP. And obviously we'd probably get a little bit more XP if we just sort of worked on cooking right now. It would be kind of nice to get the better XP. But at the same time, like I said, I've still got to get cooking XP. So we're not going to really use that as the primary reason to not work on cooking. I don't think that's really smart, just because we don't really have a date when that's going to be coming. Potentially even Fell Hollow, I'm not quite sure. So I don't want to basically wait a ridiculous amount of time before putting all the XP into cooking. I don't know what's going on with the hill here. They need to fix this. It's a little bit ridiculous, but ultimately, we are just going to be working on a couple different things in the game and then going from there. Obviously, we have been grinding out the game pretty heavily and just putting in the work, which I think is all you can really do. So let's go ahead and shoot down a little bit of the rune essence nodes. It looks like they've sort of respawned in the game. It's so crazy how many other nodes there are that we haven't really sort of decided to use to get essence. It just takes so much time to mine it and then sort of get ourselves prepared for potentially coming out and doing a run to gather all of it. So it does take a little bit of time, but you can see here that all the time I have spent actually working on collecting rune essence or the nodes, knocking them down, has actually improved my accuracy. Sometimes it's not as good, but I think for the most part, we can see really big improvements, which I'm not sure if that's really going to mean anything in the game once range actually drops on September 9th, because they may have it where you don't really have to worry about it. You might just be able to auto-assist, and if that's the case, it's not really a big deal. I think that improving accuracy, regardless of whether or not there's going to be like some sort of auto-assist, I think for the most part, you're still going to be benefiting quite a bit just from working on things like that. I think it's great for potentially eye coordination, hand-eye coordination. Not 100%, but regardless, whenever you're tuning in on skills, I think that it can be beneficial. So let's go ahead and... It's so tough right now. I feel like I'm so torn. I know I want to be working on cooking XP, but at the same time, I'd really like to grab all these dwell berries. So often I am torn between what I really want to be doing. But obviously the more we do, the less there is to worry about. So I think that's going to change the game quite significantly. As different things come to the game, we can knock them out and explore quests and different things like that. So we hope you guys are enjoying our content as well. And hopefully you're enjoying your own experience and journey into RuneScape Dragonwilds. We really need an update, and it's coming on September 9th. But I just feel like it couldn't come soon enough. New creatures would be quite amazing. I know we're probably quite far from that, really. But all you can do is just wait. Ultimately, it's just crazy how much we're going to have inside of our personal chests. Not quite personal chests, just our storage warehouse. Once Valhalla does come to the game, I think it's just going to be absolutely maddening. But we're really excited to see, and obviously there's going to be new ore coming to the game with Valhalla, and we're really excited to start mining that and stocking up on different things. But you can see our piles of rune essence are getting rather large, and that's really what we want. We want to have these gigantic amounts that we can have to basically work on rune crafting. Really think we can reach the 1 million mark before Valhalla comes to the game, which honestly we're still going to have to work on rune crafting, but I don't think it's going to look anywhere near the same. The only reason we're really going to have to work on rune crafting is basically to make new runes and things like that. We've got to get the heck out of here right now. There's bad guys. But yes, basically the only reason we're really going to have to work on rune crafting once we've accomplished what we need to is basically going to be to make new runes, potentially a quest here or there. I really would have liked to shoot that down, but it's nighttime, and as you all know, when it's nighttime in a game, it's a lot harder to do things, so we try not to spend too much time out here in the dark. It just makes it absolutely ridiculous. What's this on the ground? More stone. I don't really want to have that in my inventory, as it's just sort of a, oh my goodness, it's sort of a waste of space. We do not need any more stone. We've got a ridiculous amount. Let's go back to our base really quick. I'm being hunted. Hopefully it's here and not there, but I don't see anybody, so I think we might be all right. We've got quite a bit of meat and resources. We're going to go ahead and drop all these off. We started to get a little bit organized. I think it was in the last episode, because we've just got so much stuff and so much steak. We do not need all that. It's actually taking up a lot of inventory space for us, which is a complete waste of space. But that's pretty much it. I think that we're just going to keep grinding in the game and working towards the progression of getting to what we want to be. So it looks like we accidentally have 2 food, which is absurd, and we don't need that. So let's go ahead and grab some of the water. And let's see, I'd like to grab one that sort of increases the... Let's see. This one should do it right here. That should be good. Okay, so let's go ahead and shoot down all this rune essence, which is completely not what we were going to be doing. But obviously, it does have to get done so we can be efficient with trying to set ourselves up in the game. And ultimately, you can see, though, for the most part, our accuracy is incredible. But obviously, it's more so sometimes you're going to miss, especially when you're in a hurry. Obviously, that's when you really start to see yourself deteriorate. But for the most part, I think overall, you get better and better over time. So much rune essence out here on the ground. So ultimately, it's going to be time soon to go back out and start collecting all the essence that we shot down. So hopefully that can push us into the potentially 650,000 rune crafting XP. I know I was just talking about it a little bit, but really what's going to be left for rune crafting once we reach 1 million XP? I think that should be level 99. I'm not entirely sure, but if it's not, well, we're going to have to go back and potentially get a little bit more XP. But after making runes for each specific level as the levels increase, I think we're going to be okay for the most part. Farming's going to be really fun, I think. I'm really looking forward to it. Obviously, I think that's going to be more of a waiting game. More like doing something else in a game and then going to sleep and letting them do what they need to do. So I think it's going to be really important in farming. Not really knowing yet what it's going to look like, but I'm pretty certain that's going to look like go do a bunch of different things in the game and then basically go back and collect your crops. And luckily for me, I've got an insane amount of resources. The only thing I don't currently got right now, which is what no one else got, is seeds. So it's going to be interesting to see how they introduce that into the game, because there's a couple things about that. If I was right, and collecting Garu packs, Goblin packs, and Bird's Nests contains the seeds, I think it's going to put me light years ahead. And if that's not the case, then it's going to be its own farm. it's going to be tricky because there's going to be so much work involved in actually collecting the seeds at that point. To me, it makes the most sense that they would actually come from the bird's nest and the goblin packs and the guru packs, and potentially even from the skeletons that are going to be further along in the game. Even if I just get the base level seeds, I think they should still provide an adequate amount of XP in the game. But we just have to wait and see how they're going to go about this. But I really do think that I'm put in a good position, and if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But that'll be another story once we sort of get to that point, which would be very unfortunate because I think that would just take an incredible amount of time to go gather all those seeds to put myself in a position to be able to level up the skill efficiently. But for now, let's go ahead and go to sleep and make sure that we're ready to basically start this situation, or start the day, rather, because we've got to decide whether or not we want to collect cabbage, which I don't think is a really good idea. I think what we need to do is go here, and where we can hunt a little bit, but collect all these resources, because obviously there's a lot of dwellberries here, there's a lot of onions. Ultimately, it's going to take quite a bit more food to really hit the levels that we want to, and just a lot of more raw material. It's just going to take a lot of time. And I know I've talked quite a bit. I don't know why we're stuck here. There's really nothing built here, but now we're sort of just stuck. And since we are stuck, we may as well start a battle with this Garrow Hunter. But ultimately, I think that it's not going to be easier to get cooking XP once Valhalla comes to the game. Obviously, the creatures are going to be a higher level, and they're probably going to give more cooking XP for the recipes. I just think it's going to take a little bit longer to kill those creatures and basically navigate through the terrain that they add to the game. It really irritates me how I get stuck right here. I don't understand why it happens. And it's frustrating because I don't really think I have a lot built right here in the game. So we're sort of just stuck. But since we are stuck, I guess we could go ahead and knock this tree out and get a little bit of woodcutting XP. And now we're stuck again. So hopefully this doesn't last too long, as it's quite frustrating to not be able to really move or do anything in the game, because basically lag because of what I got built. Which is interesting. It's going to be just sort of interesting to see how the game handles adding Valhalla to like sort of the game itself. What's it going to look like? Can it handle it? Is that something they're having trouble with? I'm not sure. Hopefully there's no delays in the game sort of releasing this new content, just because it can be a little bit challenging, I'm sure. Sometimes you've got this great idea and then you realize it sort of required a lot more than you thought, and then potentially the game cannot handle it. So we're going to have to wait and see what that really looks like. But obviously, hopefully they've got it put together, because in this game, when you go to different regions, it doesn't really cause a problem. Interestingly enough, why is the Bloodlight Swamp so small? That's an interesting question. I feel like they could have really capitalized on that area a lot better than they did. Could it potentially have to do with the fact that they were having a little bit of a hard time adding more map, and that was their solution, to sort of make that a little bit smaller until they could potentially figure out how they were going to address that problem? I don't know if that's the case. But Bloodblight Swamp is extremely small. I feel like they really had an opportunity to sort of capitalize on that a little bit more, and then nothing was pretty much done with it. So it's really hard to say what happened, but I think it would have made a little bit more sense to put more in the Bloodlight Swamp. There's like a trail here, actually. So if you wanted to, you could sort of follow all these dwellberries, and it's actually quite a bit of them if you put them all together. So this actually looks like quite a good little area to collect cooking resources, except I get lag when I come here, so it makes it not so great after all. We did so much building at one point in the game, and there's like obviously videos on all of it, but it's crazy. We really took it to another level, and we even got these bars, which I should actually probably destroy and bring to my base, but it's just so crazy. Is there resources in here? It looks like there's not, really. And the reason is because we sort of had to go back and grab everything. But we've got so much cool things we built in the game. and had so much fun doing it. And eventually we sort of just ran out of ideas with the fact that you do have some limitations in the game. So you sort of got to, work within those restrictions. But I believe once they bring new materials to the game, that it will help with their, stability. And then potentially you could do a lot more cool things in the game, which is going to be really exciting because building was a big thing for me. I think the only problem now is that my focus is on progression in my XP, so I can't necessarily spend ridiculous amounts of hours building anymore. One, because I really don't need construction XP anymore, I don't think. And then two, because once Valhalla comes to the game, I really don't think that I'm going to be focused too heavily on what I can now build, except whether it comes to crafting stations and things like that. I think I'm going to be really heavily interested in potentially what I can kill and what I can be making and crafting for gear and things like that. So let's go back here. Maybe these dwarberries have responded. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not even sure if I grabbed these last time. Everything starts to look like the same over the course of time after you spend so long sort of just gathering. But interestingly enough, I think we've got quite enough flax. I think we've got about 300. So I really don't think I need to gather any more flax. Even though you're going to need them to make crossbows, I think that we've got plenty. And we are going to go shoot this Renaissance down. It seems like it respawned. It's so crazy how much food it takes to level up. So, and obviously I've got mixed feelings about it. Because obviously it means once you reach level 99, you worked for it. And I think there's really something to say about once you have something that took a pretty big amount of time and you know how much time and effort you put into it, I think it really adds to it. If it's too easy, it doesn't really have a sense of completion or sort of a gratifying feeling knowing that you did something and it didn't really take a lot of work. So I think it definitely adds to something when you've got to put time into it. It definitely leaves you feeling more fulfilled. I'm not sure for any of you out there who have ever potentially had a friend help you with something, or I'm not quite sure. Some people are pay to play or like pay to win. And I know that when you get things yourself, there's definitely more like gratifying feeling than rather having all these buffs and boosts because you bought a bunch of different things to help you. I don't really think that adds any sort of... So, I mean, some people don't really care. And it doesn't really affect my experience in the game if somebody else is doing something that sort of does that. So, it doesn't hurt me. It's more so potentially it's different for every player. But for me, I don't really find any gratification out of sort of just paying to win. I don't think that that's fun. I guess it could depend on the type of game, right? Ultimately, maybe like something like Call of Duty, which is a lot of fun to play. But obviously, I think that there's still something about that. Having to progress through the game so that way you can have certain things, I think is important just because it makes you a better player. So whatever it is, whether it's a boss you can't kill and potentially someone else does it for you, you're only hurting yourself, I think. Because, at some point, you probably want to be able to kill that boss by yourself. And now because you sort of paid someone else to do it, you may not have the necessary skills to even do it by yourself at that point if you have some crazy item that helps you fight it. So I think it's good to sort of gain those skills and things like that in a game to further progress your own journey. And I don't really think there's anything fun about sort of explaining to people that you sort of maybe potentially paid somebody or a friend did it and potentially the other person did it. And it sort of takes away from your basically ability to say, look, I did, it was crazy, it was a lot of work, and I got it done, versus, oh yes, my friend sort of got that for me. But obviously, I don't really care either way. It's your experience in the game, and obviously, having fun's important, and potentially some people don't have enough time to put as much into the game, so maybe they don't have time to really sit there and work all that out, but they want to enjoy the good things about a game. And so, obviously, having played RuneScape for like 20 years, for me, it was like everything that I did have to work for definitely had a feeling behind it. And it's just quite crazy when you look at the grand scheme of what you were willing to do to potentially get a 99 in a skill. And right now, I think that really shows what I'm willing to do. So obviously, I'm having a great time with it too. And there's just so much content to explore. And like Fellhollow is going to be 2.5 times the size of what we already currently got. So I think really that's just going to open up so many new doors and opportunities to new and exciting content in the game, and just hours upon hours. I mean, I think already I've got almost 400 hours, potentially a little bit less, a little bit more, but it's very close to that amount. So when you really look at that and you break it down, that's 4.5 hours. I mean, sorry, 400 plus or a little less hours into this game. So I think really what that means is once Fellhollow does come to the game, I mean, it's kind of crazy to think that potentially that there's like 800 hours worth of grinding in it, but I don't really think that's going to be the case, because obviously we've kind of got a lot of skills worked out already. So I think it's just going to be really, see, that's another very cool thing, is obviously I'm going to get to explore the content a little bit differently than I normally would have if I hadn't done all this work. I potentially wouldn't have been able to sort of just enjoy that content and sort of just run around and do what I want and farm when I need to, but potentially, because I've already done a lot of the other stuff, now I can potentially just walk around and enjoy the new content, kill the new monsters over and over again, maybe potentially fight the new dragon, things like that, and focus on skeletons, and then that will put me in a place that I want to be. So I think it's going to be actually quite exciting. I'll obviously work on farming and make some new weapons for my character, and I think it's just going to be a lot of fun. But basically, this is going to conclude our episode. We are going to do an XP update really quick before I go. I just want to sort of grab some more food and get myself prepared for the days to come. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be holding on to all the food I pick up, because obviously it looks like they're going to be making some changes to cooking that are going to be taking less resources to sort of make certain things. So let's go ahead and put everything away, just so that way we're set up for next time. But you can see here we collected quite a bit of food. It's actually an insane amount. So let's go ahead and get our personal storage chest really quick. And then we are going to put all this stuff away. And then we're going to do an XP update. And then we're going to send you guys on your way. And as before, I said, thank you guys for checking out our content. Hopefully you guys are enjoying it. Hopefully you're enjoying your experience in RuneScape Dragonwilds. So 305,000 attack XP. Woodcutting 1,001,000. Construction 2,009,000. Rune crafting 579,000, magic 94,000, mining 4,082,000, artisan 4,094,000, and cooking 248,980. So we're definitely making strides and progress. It's just taking time, but that's expected. But anyway, guys, until next time, Legion out.